Girls, this week we are going to begin talking about all the different body systems. We have a lot of body systems that we're going to cover. And so today we're going to start with the skeletal system. Our skeletal system, of course, consists of our bones and things that help our body have the shape that it has. So let's start looking at the skeletal system. All right. So your skeleton has 5 major functions. So like I just said, this main thing that it does that we really need it to do is provides shape and support. It's, the height you are and the way your body looks, okay? It enables you to move. Those bones are, holding you up, helping you to move. It protects your internal organs. Think about your ribs. Feel your ribs right now. They're protecting your heart and other parts of your other organs. Produces your blood cells. And it stores certain materials until your body needs them. The skeletal system, of course, mainly, and when we are asked about the skeletal system, the main thing it's going to talk about is how it supports us. Now, bone marrow, you may have heard of bone marrow before, is a soft tissue that's inside the bone where new blood cells are generated. You may have heard of someone doing a bone marrow transplant. That's where you're donating that. Well, that's inside of that bone. So, if you've ever heard of somebody doing that, it's very painful because you have to get inside of that bone. And bones store the mineral calcium for strength. Okay, we can get that calcium from milk and yogurt and cheese, and that helps us have strong bones and strong teeth. All right, so let's look at this bone anatomy. It's very cool. So we can see where the bone marrow is. This is showing your femur. And then you can see inside, and if you've ever seen like deer bone, or if you had some kind of animal like a possum or a raccoon that has died, and you see the bones, you might have seen that spongy bone and the compact bone. Okay, so it's pretty neat to look at that. Cartilage provides a smooth surface between those bones, or sometimes it's a flexible extension of a bone, like in the tip of your nose. So if you push into your nose right now, you can feel that cartilage there. As an infant, a lot of your skeleton was cartilage. By the time you stop growing, most of the cartilage will have been replaced with that hard bone tissue, though. Okay, joints. Now, a joint is a place in the body where two bones come together. They allow bones to move in different ways. I think of my elbow, your shoulder, your fingers, your knees, lots of places. The bones in movable joints are held together by strong connective tissue that's called a ligament. Okay, so here we see the skeletal system, and we see a front view and a back view. Lots of bones are in the skeletal system. Some you may have heard of before, and some maybe you haven't. Like next time your shoulder hurts, you should say, "Oh, my clavicle." That'll be very impressive to people. So our humerus is that arm bone. We see your ribs. Your radius is the bottom part of the arm, and the ulna, like those two bones that you see there. Okay, phalanges, those are your fingers. Isn't that a cool thing to say? Your phalanges. I need some gloves. My phalanges are cold. Your femur is that top bone. Patella there at your knee. Tibia and fibula are in the bottom of your leg. Kind of like in your arms, you see those two. Okay, and we've got our tarsals and metatarsals, and our phalanges in our feet. So these are really fun words to say. Okay, so that's just a picture that you can look at of the skeletal system. Very, very neat. Now, also today we're going to discuss the muscular system. Goes together hand in hand with the skeletal system. So the muscular system works with the skeletal and the nervous system to produce movement and helps circulate blood through the human body. So it's common for you to see questions that say things like, which systems work together? We know the skeletal and the muscular system work together because those muscles are right there on top of those bones. Muscle cells are fibrous, and contractions can be voluntary or involuntary. So remember when we were watching the video of our multicellular organisms, and we were talking about the doctor on that show, he put the things on the boy's arm and it made his muscles contract. That was involuntary. He didn't want that to happen, okay? Of course, when you're lifting weights, that's voluntary, but you may have felt like your muscles kind of jumping sometimes. So the major muscles in your human body is the cardiac muscle, like your heart, skeletal muscles that are on your skeleton, and those smooth muscles. All right, so our skeletal, smooth, and cardiac we can see right here in this picture. So we can see that how they kind of look a little bit different. Cardiac, skeletal, and smooth. All right. Skeletal muscles are attached to the bones of the skeleton. Kind of like what you feel. Like if you were to reach for your arm right now, you're going to feel that muscle right there on top of that arm bone. Because you have control of your skeletal muscles, they are called voluntary. Like I said, when you're lifting those weights, you're making that muscle contract. These muscles provide force that move your bones. They react quickly and they tire quickly. If you're going for a run, you can feel it in those legs. Or if you're lifting weights, you can feel it in those arms. A tendon is a strong connective tissue that attaches muscle to bone. So those are your tendons. Stretchy bands called ligaments connect your bones together. Lots of stuff going on in there. All right, smooth muscles are involuntary because they work without you telling them to, like your digestive system. So this picture is showing your large intestine, and those muscles are going to move in and out and contract to kind of move that food through your body. It's very amazing. Cardiac muscles are also involuntary and only found in the heart. They do not get tired. Okay, they're helping pump that heart. All right, muscles under your control are voluntary. Smiling, turning pages in a book, those are voluntary muscles. You're in control of those. So again, involuntary are not under your control. Like in this picture, you're seeing your esophagus with that smooth muscle, and your heart, cardiac muscle, which is helping get that blood around in your body. So let's look here closer at a muscle. So we see that muscle cell and that muscle bundle with connective tissue. There's a lot of things going on there, and you can see the tendon attaching to that bone. So don't worry about having to know all this vocabulary, but it's just interesting to look at it. Now, how do muscles work? Muscles work by contracting or becoming shorter and thicker. Because muscle cells can only contract, not extend, skeletal muscles must work in pairs. While one contracts, the other returns to its original length. For example, in order to move the lower arm, biceps on the front of the upper arm bend to the elbow. This lifts the forearm and hand, and as the bicep contracts while you're making that muscle, the triceps return to their original length. To straighten the elbow, triceps contract while biceps go down. So if you lift your arm up and down, you can kind of feel what we're talking about. And then here we can see this skeleton, or this like anatomy with muscles. Look at all the different muscles that we've got. So many. You may have heard ones familiar, like the top of your legs, quadriceps. You hear people say your quads. And hamstrings are on the back of your legs. Excuse me. Just so many muscles. I mean, look, they're all over your body. It's very interesting. So there's our PowerPoint on skeletal system and muscular system.